Sure, if that's what you think is going to happen. The results, though, are debatable. The results have not happened yet. They're saying prices are going to get lower. Sure. So now me getting, a simple math, 1% back on $100. This is now going to be, 3% less. So it's now going to be $97 with 5%. So simple math. So now it's going to be $95. And now I'm getting that 1% back on $95 instead of $100. Sure. And when you have your credit card rewards sitting there, or you have, cash back rewards just sitting there, I'm pretty sure the banks, that's still their money that's sitting there. So they make use of that. When I say make use of it, that's like quotation marks, but they leverage it in a general sense of it. Multiple studies we're conducting study. When I say we're, I'm saying in general in the United States, studies are being conducted since the Senator Durbin Amendment became law, have concluded that it didn't have much of any effect on retail prices. In fact, 2015 economic brief published by the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond includes survey results estimating that more than 20% of merchants actually increased their price again after the rule went into effect. Yeah, if you have, regardless if it's a fee or not, everybody's paying it, so it doesn't quote unquote impact us. If I now have to pay 2% less than a fee, right? I'm now going to, why would I just increase my prices by that 2%? Because I'm just going to, in short, not all, but a lot of businesses probably aren't inflating their prices to cover this fee, right? I mean, there are other fees that they have to deal with, other things that they're dealing with. Yeah, I need to take that down. My bad, y'all. There's these flowers. I don't know why these flowers over here, but whatever. It's giving like devilish vibes, like when I see it in the window. Anyways, and banks found ways to recoup somewhat they lost in debit card fees. Yeah, they charge you fees on the other side. More NSF fees for insufficient funds. They give people who get insufficient fund fees, they're less lenient on how many insufficient funds fees or NSF fees that they're returning, that they're turning out, they're giving back to you. Right? I remember I had an issue where there was something didn't go through for whatever, there was an error and I didn't catch the error, so I made a transfer. Then I saw that it was insufficient funds. I'm like, what? I'm like, I thought I did this transfer, So I went and got that fee back, but they could have chosen to give me that fee because at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to verify the money's there. But it was an error on their part. And banks found ways to recoup it where they lost in debit card fees, estimated $14 billion. My goodness, according to the Federal Reserve, by raising fees in checking account. There you go. They're just going to get the money back somewhere else. A 2017 report from the Federal Reserve economists found that banks subject to the Senator Durbin Amendment were 35.2% less likely to offer free checking accounts and on average hiked monthly fees on both interest and non-interest checking accounts, 17% for the former, 20% for the latter. The report also found that the average minimum balance requirements of void monthly fees rose by at least 50%. My goodness. So how is this better for us as the consumers? Meanwhile, debit card reward programs all but disappeared as the swipe fees that had funded them declined. Opponents of the Credit Card Competition Act say history is poised to repeat itself. If this were to happen, boy, would there be a lot of people pissed off on YouTube. I know a lot of people be upset. But if credit card rewards / cashback went away, ooh, there are people who like count on this stuff to fund their lifestyle, to live their life. Ooh, it would be mayhem. Debit card interchange limitations that Senator Durbin slipped into the dot. So what's it slipped into? Shout out to Bill Cosby. Anyways, that's a joke, but I mean sometimes the verbiage is like slip. When it says slipped into, that implies that he snuck it in. I mean, just let's read the sentence again. The debit card interchange limitations that Senator Durbin slipped into the Dodd-Frank Act in 2010 did not result in any consumer cost savings. So now you're trying to do it again and not get any consumer cost savings, I guess. Excuse me. Nussel or Nussel said in a statement, since that time, credit card fraud rates have doubled. Oh, my goodness. Makes sense. Why would we expect a different result from this legislation? We are going to see retailers lining their pockets with money without reducing prices. Again, I told you I wouldn't reduce I might increase my prices too. As a business, your job is to generate revenue. What? You got people to pay. Your employees. We're going to see a line of pockets, leaving consumers and small businesses owners in the lurch. All right. We almost done, y'all. How credit card rewards look in other countries. Why do we care how it looks in other countries? One of the things when sometimes people will reference like Canada, because they're right above us, but reference like things Canada can get done, like universal healthcare. I feel like a lot of people don't know, like when we talk about overall like GDP and population size, Canada is like California. That's all. Like California, if it was a country, one from a GDP, I believe California is probably still top 5. But I believe outside of the United States, because California is part of that. China, Japan. Was it China, Japan, Germany, and the UK / Britain? I can't remember my highest GDP anymore. It's not like I look it up. Highest GDP. China, United States first, then China, or Japan, Germany, and then India. Okay, then UK, France, right? But if we look at just so people can understand, like what I'm talking about here. So for California, remains the 5th largest economy in the world since 2017. So as of 2023, they did 3.9 trillion. So almost 4 trillion from a GDP standpoint. If we come over here and look at this tab, so this is all the countries. They're 5th. Just as one. I mean, just think, India has over 1 billion people in it. 1 billion. Excuse me. California probably has like 30 or 40 million or so, I believe. And they're almost doing a trillion more in GDP. A trillion. That's insane. This is as a 2022 number, it looks like. But then when we come back over here, we have California GDP and then population, right? So 39 million people. Then we do Canada. I spelled Canada terribly wrong. Canada's GDP is 2.1. So as a whole country, Canada only does 2.1. I probably didn't need to look it up. And the population size, I don't even need to look that up because Canada's going to be on this. I'm slow. Right. So they're 9th out of all the countries, but California is 5th. So California, Canada isn't even California. So when you talk about getting stuff passed in the United States, well, Canada got it done. It's like, I mean, we got, my bad, y'all messed with the screen sharing. We got, a lot of other places, a lot more money to deal with. You can't just get something passed, in the whole country just because, you see it done in, Canada, because they got their whole country on board for it. Now, let's be clear. You can get stuff passed at the state level, and that's why California, look how it looks. You can't get stuff done at that level. But when you talk about the federal level, get a whole country as far as the United States. I feel like a lot of people don't know. The United States, in short, is the largest country in the world population size. When you take out the 2 outliers, China and India, who each have over 1 billion people as countries. Africa has over 1 billion people in them. That's a continent. With China and India being the only countries with over 1 billion people in them, if you remove them as outliers, United States has the highest population in the world. Like, there's a lot of people here. And by the way, that's what we have documented. There's nothing about immigration right now, but it's in the general sense. That's what we have documented. There's even more people than that, what we actually see, because we know about the immigration issues that the United States is having. It's like, my goodness, like, oh yeah, Canada got it done. And Canada is nothing in comparison as far as just GDP and population wise. The United States, they're literally nothing. They're literally they'd be a state. Like that's all. And if I were to look up Texas and Florida and New York, I would say their GDP is going to be, not as far off from Canada. But I mean, California, Texas, Florida, New York, I believe now they all have over 1 trillion in GDP, just for those 4 states alone. Like that's crazy to think about.